What's going on, everyone? So the Philadelphia 76ers are an absolute dumpster fire right now. It is an absolute mess. The NBA is now investigating the Sixers for James Harden's comments about how he said, Daryl Morey lied. The NBA wants to find out, well, what did he lie about, right? Because Philly just got in trouble for doing backdoor deals and stuff like that with James Harden. So it's going to be a disaster. And at what point does Joel Embiid say, enough is enough? I'm done. Time to get me out of here. The issue that Joel Embiid has is he's still under contract for the next several years. And and Daryl Morey, he's got a bit of an ego. He's not the easiest and most willing to we'll just trade you type thing. Even though personally, I think that's the best course of action. I personally believe Philly's best interest at this point. The process hasn't worked. It's been 7-8 years now. And it's like, at what point do you say, okay, enough's enough, time to go in a different direction? You got a nice young player in Maxey. Joel Embiid will likely return the best yield in NBA history, right? Go trade him, get what you can, get whatever you can for James Harden. You have a bunch of salary space, you have a bunch of young talent, you have a bunch of draft picks, and you'll be in just such a great position, and you can kind of expedite a rebuild and put yourself in a position. It's not like you've done anything more than be a first, second round exit. Right? It's not like you're making it to the NBA Finals or the Western Conference. It's like the Celtics, they have an argument, right? It's like every year we're in the conference finals and every year we're in the NBA Finals. So it's like, why would we change anything, right? It's like one of these years we're going to break over the hump. That's not Philly. No, every year they're a first or second round exit. They're not in the conference finals year in and year out, or in the NBA Finals year in and year out, where it's like, man, we just need one of these things to kind of fall our way, and all of a sudden we win a championship. And James Harden's just going to continue to make things worse. Joel Embiid just had to deal with this with Ben Simmons, right? It's like, when is enough, right? And we're already getting reports that teams are keeping an eye on Joel Embiid because many believe that that's coming, that trade request is right around the corner, and that at some point he's going to say, all right, enough is enough, if they don't trade James Harden. Which, if you want to keep Joel Embiid, you need to trade James Harden, right? If you want to keep him happy, trade him for a bag of peanuts, whatever you have to do. Right? Because at least you'll get back players that want to play, that want to be there, and that are going to try. And you can sell Joel Embiid on the promise of tomorrow. Because the Sixers would have a max and then some. They could go get another max player to replace James Harden, and then go get a couple complimentary pieces, and all of a sudden they'd be right back there and maybe be a real contender. Right? That would be my sell to keep Joel Embiid. But, again, looks like that may not be the case, and that teams are like, hey, we're ramping up and preparing to make a package for Joel Embiid. One of those teams is the Miami Heat. I don't see it. I really don't. If they could find a way to get Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler would be ridiculous. One, they'd have to trade Bam Adebayo, and two, even then, I don't know if they have enough to go and yield a quality return. They don't have a lot. They can't even trade for Damian Lillard. I don't see how they get to Joel Embiid, right? So the other team that has been heavily rumored is the Knicks. And the Knicks, on the other hand, I think make a world of sense and have all the potential. Because the Knicks could literally go, you could have any player you want on this roster outside of Jalen Brunson. Take your pick. Anybody you want outside of Jalen Brunson, you could have. And they have like an entire treasure trove of just draft picks. They have so many picks, like they're falling out of like the treasure chest, right? And they could put a nice package together of like a Quentin Grimes, Jericho Sims. You could go like Miles McBride. So it gives you a nice young core. Evan Fournier just for salary purposes. You give them a big man in Mitchell Robinson, and like even an RJ Barrett. There you go. And you'd still have a roster of like Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Josh Hart, Joel Embiid, and then, you just kind of fill in the pieces the rest of the way. At that point, you're good. And even if you don't win this year or you don't do anything this year, you have your core and your foundation for next season. You got your big superstar. You got Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Josh Hart, and Joel Embiid. That's a very good, very versatile, very solid starting five that can just get you through this season, right? You'd still have like backup guys and like Hartenstein, right? Isn't he still with the Knicks, if I'm not mistaken? They just signed DiVincenzo. You're in a good position. The Knicks make a lot of sense because they have the assets and the pieces to actually put together one of the more favorable packages in the NBA. There are other teams that could maybe make a bigger argument, right? Like, would the Pelicans trade Zion, right, and put a package around Zion of like, hey, we'll trade you Zion and something else, right? Would the Sixers do that? It also comes down to like, what does Daryl Morey value, right? Is he like, I have to get another star, right? Because if that's the case, then the Knicks are probably the odd man out. But do they look at it as like, I need a star or a borderline star, right? Like, do they look at it as like, okay, like, I need to get back, a package centered around Karl Anthony Towns or something like that, where it's like, at least I have an all-star level big man still. We got Maxey, like we can still contend. Or does he look at it as like, well, I want a full-on rebuild, right? Like I need a rebuild. Like I need nice young talent. I want draft picks. He said he wants draft picks for James Harden, but draft picks for James Harden is not the same thing for Joel Embiid. Personally, I think you go the youth route. I think you go get a nice solid package from the Knicks, and you basically say, we're taking all of your young talent, right? So you get a center in Mitchell Robinson, you get a nice forward in Grimes, get another nice guard in McBride, you get a nice young center in Jericho. There you go. You got 4 very good, very promising young talents. Get an RJ Barrett too if you want, right? Now you got you got your small forward of the future. And you got Barrett and Maxey that you're building around. You got a competent center in Mitchell Robinson, right? So there you go. You basically have your core for the future. You got a bunch of draft picks. You'd have a bunch of salary space, so you could go get a solid star or whatever if you can convince them to come. You can also go and package whatever you need to go get other players. Right? Maybe somebody values, Sims and Grimes, right? The Knicks were getting calls for both of those guys and weren't willing to include them in any packages. But maybe those same teams have something that you want. And you can kind of like turn Joel Embiid into like this expedited, type of ordeal. I mean, look at what like the Brooklyn Nets were able to do. Right? They were able to basically turn Kyrie Irving and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant into a very good, very deep, sizable roster that may be a star away from winning a chip or at least being a legit contender. I think Philly could probably do the same thing. You could probably get some, like the Clippers would probably give you some nice pieces. Right? They're not like they're a little hesitant as far as like going and giving up Terrence Mann or whatever. But I think if you're Philly, you could probably get a nice enough return for James Harden and then a nice enough return for Joel Embiid. And you're good. Right? You could go young, go youth, do that. The Knicks, it makes all the sense in the world. You got Jalen Brunson and Joel Embiid as like your duo for the foreseeable future. I don't think Jalen Brunson is a number one option. I think if Jalen Brunson is the best player on your team, you're not winning an NBA championship. But I think if Jalen Brunson is your second best player and you have a nice complementary core around them, he can be. He's playing with Team USA. He's a guy that has shown that he can absolutely get buckets and compete with the best of them. He's undersized, which could develop to be a problem, but you got Joel Embiid. If you can put together a nice enough just core or whatever to just defensively put around them. You don't have to win this year, right? Joel Embiid, he gets to go to a big market in New York. He gets to be happy. He gets to, be with an organization that wants to win, that wants to bring it. The New York fans would lose their minds and would be, talking that talk and all that stuff. I mean, it would be a great situation for the New York Knicks if you could go and trade for Joel Embiid. And if I'm the Knicks, again, if you want to take everybody but Jalen Brunson, you want Barrett, you want Hart, you want Randall, you want whatever, we'll even take Tobias Harris for a year. Fine. You could take our entire roster and all of our picks. Because you would have Jalen Brunson and Joel Embiid next year. and a bunch of salary space, right? Like whatever it takes, whatever you have to do in order to like if they're like, hey, we want to be the Knicks with Maxey, sure, here you go, go right ahead. It's all you, right? Sign me up. But I think if there is any chance of the Knicks getting Joel Embiid, whatever it is, don't play games like Donovan Mitchell, right? Because we saw what happened with the Knicks and Donovan Mitchell. They're sitting there playing games and going back and forth and trying to play hardball and all this stuff and making all this noise. And they just said, all right, fine, I'll just go trade him to the Cavs. Although I will say I don't think that was the worst thing for the Knicks. I have no idea why they wanted Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, basically two undersized guards that are essentially the same player. Whichever one you think is better, that's on you, but they're very similar players, right? So I don't know why they would want that. Joel Embiid makes a world of sense. You got your center. He's still young enough. He's under contract for multiple seasons. Like, you're good. You're set. You got Jalen Brunson and Joel Embiid. You now have all the tools to go and put together whatever you want. Don't play games. If they, sure. Okay, you want that too? Oh, no problem. What else do you want? You want that? Tell you what, we're just gonna throw in, Mitchell Robinson just in good faith. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Take Sims, take McBride, take Grimes, take Barrett. There's 4 young guys. You got to take Evan Fournier for salary, but he's expiring, so no worries there. And we'll even give you Mitchell Robinson if you want, or we'll even give you Josh Hart if you want. What you're talking about, Joel Embiid, talking about the MVP, top 5 player in the league, a guy that could completely change the course of the franchise. Jalen Brunson and Joel Embiid would be just absolutely solid. All you'd be looking for is just at that point to round out your roster. You're good. You are absolutely good. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. How do you feel about it? Do you agree? Do you think Knicks do whatever you have to? No questions asked. Whatever they want, you give it to them. Do you think, no, you got to play hardball? Do you think Joel will ever go to the Knicks? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear.